Hello. Let's give everyone a few minutes to join. We'll get started at s- uh, give it another 5 minutes. I think some people will probably come late. All right, while we're waiting, if you want, there's a chat function so you can put in who you are, where you're from, what type of brand you're starting, and anything else you might want to share. All right, so we have Claire from the UK. I'm currently in the ideation POC stage of the business. I will have to pop out briefly halfway through for the school run, but I'll come back. Okay. This is also going to be recorded, so you can watch it later too if you want. Um, Elmira, Petite Sportswear. I'm in Miami, Florida. Ryan, in the DC area, looking to start a quiet luxury brand. Okay. I think that quiet luxury trend has run its course. Um Especially with Pretty Little Things and their rebrand. Quiet luxury is essentially fast fashion at this point. So I don't want to tell you not to do it. I just think you're going to need something more interesting than unbranded basics. Um, Felisa from Chicago, starting a scrubwear line for healthcare workers. Okay, cool. I had a few clients that I worked with, especially during the pandemic 2020 to 2022, who were making different types of scrubs. Amy from the UK, also in the ideation stage of the business. Dervona is in Atlanta. Felicia is a former evening wear designer in Chicago. Okay, cool. Does anyone else want to share anything while we wait for maybe a few more people to pop on this call? And Kit from Germany, trying to start a hemp tencel based luxury brand in Germany. Okay. Beth, Seattle, Washington area. So we have a lot of people from all over the world, which is nice. One of the things I really like about the Launch My Conscious Line community and then the membership which is like if you join the program afterwards, there's like a membership, which is like a VIP area. We have like almost 60 people in that right now who have all taken the program and stay on. But it's literally, I think we have every single time zone, and I think it's like 39 or 40. I have to double check different countries we have people in, which is really fun. And it's really diverse. Like there's so many different types of brands. We have people who are making like conservative swimwear as well as people who are making clothes for pole dancers. So it's a really, I think, unique space in that way. And I think maybe you're seeing a little bit of that now. A lot of different types of people and brands follow me, but it's all the same no matter what you're making. It's the same process. Beth wanting to start a bamboo modal and organic cotton brand for tweens and young teens. Okay. So first off, and then we're going to get into it, a lot of people here are trend heavy, it seems, and also fiber heavy. Fibers are not enough to sell a brand. I'm going to tell you that right now. Organic, sustainable, ethical. It does not move the needle when it comes to sales. People love to talk about how they're sustainable, ethical, all that stuff. They'll talk about it all day long. But when they are at the checkout counter, when they're making a decision on making a purchase, and there are tons of studies on this, just do a Google search, like they'll all come up. It doesn't move the needle. So while it's great that you want to use Tencel, Modal, whatever, fibers, hemp, whatever, it isn't a brand. Unless like there are a few brands that go like really into the hemp stuff and it's all they're known for and they're hemp crazy and they're doing okay, but even them, they have a personality beyond the fibers. So your brand needs to be a brand outside of manufacturing and outside of product. And then on top of that, as like the sprinkles on top, you have the sustainability of fibers and all of that. I don't want to say you will fail, but I've worked with a lot of brands and I can get a pretty good gauge of who will fail and who will succeed very quickly. And the ones that are material heavy, unless it's performance, if it's material heavy for a performance reason, but then your brand is a performance brand, it's not a materials brand, it's very hard to gain traction. So for everyone who's focused on the fiber, remove that and figure out what your brand's personality is, and then add the fiber, the manufacturing, the sustainability, the ethics, the water conservation, whatever it is you want to do on top of that. Claire, I'm currently exploring and researching the UK markets. The sectors that are growing that I'm interested in are women's workwear and elevated casual wear. Can wear working from home and also smart enough for the office, etc. Okay, great. So that is definitely a niche too. I would niche down even more within that niche. What type of job do they have, right? Someone who works in as a social media manager has a very different wardrobe that they're wearing than a lawyer, which has a very different wardrobe that they're wearing than someone who maybe works in advertising. So I would niche down even more. And that's the secret to doing well. When you niche down a lot, everything becomes easier. Your ads that you run will become more profitable. The partnerships that you have with brands, influencers, celebrities, whoever, become very easy. I have a post-surgical mastectomy bra line. When I reached out to celebrities to wear, and I got Christina Applegate and like big celebrities, they all said yes because it was so niche, right? If I was just like, hey, I made some lingerie. Do you want to wear it? Like, I probably would have had like a 1% yes rate, or I think I had something like almost a 90% like we're interested rate. It's because it's super niched and I only reached out to people that it pertained to. So really clear. And then we're going to get into the questions. But this is a good example for everyone here because most people are just starting out. Niche down more and more and more. And that is what's going to help you be successful in the long run. It's also going to determine your supply chain. If you don't know all of these things, you cannot start reaching out to suppliers because if you're trying to do mid-tier stuff, you're price sensitive. you're maybe going to have to go to China. You're maybe going to have to go to India. But if you're higher end luxury, okay, maybe you can make in the UK. So knowing all this about your customer will determine your supply chain. So a lot of people, most people that reach out to me are like, I need suppliers, help me. And when we start talking, I'm like, you need a lot more than suppliers. You need to do all your groundwork, and then we can start talking about suppliers because the right fit for a supplier isn't right for every brand. Even if they can make your product, it doesn't mean that it's a good fit. Okay. Um, Beth, sensory friendly daywear for tweens and young teens that's created for them, not making them into big kids or little adults. Is that a brand identity beyond the fabric? Yeah, I actually have a few. You can look at Wonder Undies. They do sensory friendly stuff. Danielle is a student of mine. She's doing well. She just expanded into adults as well. I think you're at the middle of that trend. Not that sensory is a trend, but there's been like, I see waves of what people are interested in, like with the scrubs pandemic, a lot of golf during the pandemic, because again, people were playing sports that weren't like soccer and basketball. They were playing more solitary sports with distance. So there was a lot of golf, a lot of tennis during the pandemic. Now I am seeing a lot of the sensory stuff. So I think there'll be a lot more competition in the years to come. Right now, it's not out there, but I do think, you might want to move quickly with this type of brand because you can get ahead of everyone else. Okay, let's jump into it. Felicia, sorry if I pronounce everyone's names incorrectly. I am not good at pronouncing anything. All right, so how to launch a scrub uniform brand for the full figured healthcare workers. How much capital is needed to launch uniforms in addition to your course costs, and how in 8,000 you mentioned to have upfront? Is 30,000 budget enough to include inventory and marketing? Do you offer a business plan to sell and market my line of scrubs? Okay, so I can't, before we get into the questions, actually, two things. If anyone on this call is contacted by a supplier or they slide into your DMs, don't work with them. That is a red flag. I always have one or two people who are suppliers that think they're clever and they start messaging everyone, hey, I'll work with you, I'll make your stuff. When finding suppliers, never respond to anyone that slides into your DMs. Never reply to anyone that's on Facebook. Never reply to anyone that is doing stuff like this, right? They're showing up to a group call where people are looking for help and they're being predatory and saying, oh, I can help you. Their business is in trouble if they're doing these types of business sales tactics. And maybe they don't have clients because they screw them over or they make bad product, whatever it is. It's a red flag and it's not someplace you want to meet people. And I've had a few people have contacted me in the past and they're like, oh, this person was in a Facebook group and this and that. And they slid into my DMs and I used them and now I'm in a world of trouble. Can you help me? So avoid it. Again, if you're a supplier here, no one here is going to work with you. So move on. Then that's just good, keeping yourself safe and choosing people to work with, which there's a lot more to vetting people, but that's like basic 101. Ignore anyone that slides into your DMs, whether that's someone who's telling you that they can do your marketing, grow your influencer, whatever, likes, follows, all that. If anyone is aggressively pitching you through those the emails that you are going to start getting once you launch your brand that are like, do you have a minute? Quick question. We 10x'd, delete. Don't work with these types of people. Work with people who are in your community and give you referrals or that you're actively following, right? You all followed me for whatever reasons, whether it's the blog posts or the Instagram or whatever. I wasn't in your DMs like, hey, I'm Melanie, come learn what I have to say, right? That is never work with someone like that. Okay. The other thing is I'm not going to answer questions about suppliers because I can't do that on this call. Like I said, like I don't know enough about your brands and what it is you're doing to give you a good supplier in the first place. And if you're on this call, you're almost definitely not ready to even be having conversations with a supplier. There are probably 10 other things that you need to be doing instead. So for how to launch a scrub uniform brand for the full figured healthcare worker, I mean, I have a 3-month program on that tells you step by step. So that's a very long question that obviously I can't answer here. Um, we can talk about the how much money you need. And this is going to be maybe not, let's see. So it's not about success. And I've worked with everyone from people, the smallest budget I ever worked with was $2,500. And the biggest budget was like multi-$100,000. Um, Success is not determined by how much money you have. And it makes things easier because you don't have to, bootstrap and, make sacrifices, but it's not determined. And starting small does not mean you won't be successful. Your budget and how much this will cost is however much money you have. So if you have $8,000 to start, we will figure out maybe you start with one style instead of three styles. Maybe you do one style, two colors instead of, five styles, whatever it is, we figure out what works into your budget and work backwards. We look, like I said earlier in the call, we look at who your target customer is, what pricing you need, and then we make supply chain decisions on that. Basically, what I tell people is whatever your budget is, decide now. There's no crowdfunding, there's no I'm going to raise. Whatever the money is that you have at this moment is your budget. Because crowdfunding is very difficult in 2025. It's almost impossible. The economy isn't the best. People are holding onto their dollars. Kickstarter, like who trusts it these days? How many stories have you heard about Kickstarter where they never even launched, right? It just doesn't work the way it used to in 2017 and 2018. So that's not anything. I'm going to get someone, I'm going to do VC funding, I'm going to find that. You're not. People who will give your business money want to see something. They want to see you were able to produce something and they want to see that you were able to sell something. They're not, everyone's got ideas. I have like 10 ideas a day. No one's giving me money for them because I'm not doing them, right? Anyone can come up with an idea. So you need to be able to make something and sell something. And that can be as simple as making samples and selling your samples. So you can go to someone, you can say, look, I know how to make it. I've made it. I sold it. People liked it. Did I only sell 3 pieces? Yes, but that's better than zero. And by having just that little bit of something, then people will give you money. So wherever you are right now, whatever money you have right now, that's your budget. That's it. And then we work backwards. We figure out what can we do with this budget to get you where you need to go. And maybe that's one style. Maybe that's white labeling your first collection. A lot of people white label their first collection. Huge brands, like it's shocking how many huge brands there are today that white labeled their first collection, had good branding, sold out, and then used that money to create custom stuff. So we figure out a way to make it work. The other thing to the budget that I'll tell you right now is whatever it is, if you have $10,000, your budget for your first collection is five. That's how much you're trying to spend. You half that because after your first collection is done, you're going to have more expenses while you're making your second collection and making money. So if you've got $10,000 in the bank, plan to spend only five. Maybe you'll end up spending six because there are always all these extra things that come up. But do not budget your initial budget to your max, whatever is in the bank and you're willing to spend. Half it and start there. And then you'll grow and grow and grow. The person that, I helped with $2,500, it's been 5 years now, but she was in New York Fashion Week and she started with one product and now she's got tons of different products, tons of different things that she's doing. It is a method that works. It's slower than a lot of people want. I know online, everyone tells you like, quit your job, work 3 hours, you'll be a millionaire in 30 days, generational wealth, right? All these things, it's all nonsense. The only way to grow is through slow, strategic moves. A great example of this, I'm kind of going on a tangent and then we're going to move forward. A great example of this is testing. Most people think these sold out launches, when people advertise they had a sold out launch, it's usually their fourth or fifth launch. It's not their first one. What they're doing is these tiny test orders before figuring out what works. Maybe they're ordering 10 pieces, 20 pieces. Then when they've dialed it in and they know what's working and not, that's when they order their 200 pieces or 2,000 pieces or whatever. That's when they have the sold out launch. Maybe they had 5 other failures before that where they were learning. So that's also something to keep in mind. Your first season is not about quitting your job. Your first season is just about collecting data, getting something started, and building your brand in a way that you will quit your job in 2 or 3 years. If you go into it thinking you're quitting your job in the next 3 months, you're going to be very disappointed and you're probably going to make decisions that put you out of business instead of creating a system that will allow you to grow sustainably. Walmart, great example of this. I did a lot of Walmart stuff. 500,000 per style per color, 1 million per style per color is what they would order. Anytime they had a new product, they would take only 10,000 pieces and they'd put it in their top 100 stores and they would see how it performed. If it performed well, we'd get that 1 million piece order. If it didn't perform well, it was cut. This is what everyone across the industry does. And when you're a new brand, you don't have that data. So you're figuring out yourself. And that's what your first season is really about. It's about making something, getting data, and figuring out your next moves. So yes, with the budget, is 8,000 enough? Is 30,000 enough? Yes, it's all enough. We work backwards. Whatever your budget is, it's fine. Maybe you can't get all the things that you want. Maybe you can't have custom prints. So instead you have to use available prints or stock colors. Maybe, maybe you have to make choices and that's a whole other rabbit hole that we're not going down tonight, how to make choices and how to stay true to your brand. But that's how the budget works. So, budget out as much as you can, use half of what you have. That's a safe place to start. But for everyone else listening, like, do not let not having a lot of money stop you. You just need to figure out away with what you have. Do I offer a business plan? Yes. So in the Launch My Conscious Line program, half of the course, when you're having your samples made, takes usually 2 to 3 months for the factory to make your samples, to source the fabric, to get the patterns, to do the spec sheets, to get the physical samples. Takes about 2 months. While that's happening, we're building your sales plan, your website, social media, wholesale. If you're doing that, how you're going to drive traffic to your website. People don't just show up. You have to drive traffic, right? While you're waiting for your samples, we do all that work. So when you're ready to sell, you have something going. The hardest part, people think the hardest part of starting a brand is getting product made. It's easy. 10% of your business is getting product made, 90% is sales. That's the hard part. So that's why we do that while there's downtime and we're waiting for the samples. Okay. Simone, my name is Simone. I'm creating a sustainable US-based clothing boutique. I want a minimum of as low as 5 MOQs. I don't have a budget as of yet. I'm just getting started. My question is how to go about finding sustainable manufacturers with ethical practices. I've been looking for a few months and I haven't found what I'm looking for. Well, now based on everything I've just told you in this call, I think maybe you probably know the answer to this. The reason you're having trouble finding suppliers is because you don't know what you want. You don't know what you can spend. You don't have a plan. And suppliers aren't going to talk to you without a plan. I'm starting a podcast next month. And in the podcast, we're interviewing factories and apparel industry people. And basically, it's just them telling wild stories and bitching about clients. And before I invited people to come on, I had a phone call with them. And everyone said the same thing. They are, I think a lot of times, thanks to the media, people think that manufacturers are desperate for business. They're so poor, they need us. They have, since the pandemic, things changed and they have more business than they know what to do with. They regularly turn away people. I have one person who has to wait 3 months to have a conversation with a factory. They said, we're completely full, contact us in 3 months, and maybe we'll talk about taking you on. And when you don't give them the information that they need to help you, they delete your email. If you do not come to them with the fundamentals, how much you're making, what the cost is, what the fabrics are, a whole bunch of other things. I have templates for that. They literally are just like, some of these emails I read and I respond to all of them because it's my job to educate people. But if I was just a factory, I 100% would delete them because I read them and I'm like, can I buy a vowel? What do you even want? What are you saying? And by you coming to them and not giving them all the information, they're like, this is going to be a difficult customer. This person is going to take up a lot of our time and we're going to end up making not a lot of money, especially with a 5-piece MOQ. So I think a big part of the reason is you literally just told me you don't have a budget and you don't know what's up. That's why you're having trouble. You don't have a clear plan, and it's your job to direct the factory. A lot of people think that I'll find a factory and they'll do everything for me. That is not the job of the factory. The job of the factory is to follow orders. You tell them what to do. And if you can't tell them what to do, your production, your manufacturing, it's going to be a shit show. You need to literally You'd think that if you sent someone a package, they would receive the package and that would be the end of it. Not in fashion. In fashion, it's your job to track it. It's your job to send the message that, hey, I noticed this was delivered today. Did you get it? Because then they're going to say, actually, no, I didn't. Let me go look around. Oh, it was on the second floor instead of the third floor. I just found it. Okay, let me open it. It's your job to say, okay, you opened it. Let's review it. It's not their job. It's not their job to tell you how to make product. It's your job to give them a tech pack, to give them spec sheets, to tell them how to make the product. They just execute. It's kind of like Ratatouille, where the rat's pulling the strings, you're pulling the strings for the factory. And if you can't pull the strings for the factory, they're never going to be able to give you what you want. That's why education and understanding how these things work is so important. And that's why if they feel that you don't know what you're doing, they're not going to work with you because you won't be there to pull the strings. You're just going to be complaining that nothing is correct. Um, so that's a big part of it. And I know that sucks to hear, and I know it's not what people want to hear, but that's the honest truth. And it's literally what was discussed on every single phone call that I had with every single industry professional. How annoying it is to get these calls from new brands that have no idea what they're doing, that suck up their time. So the most important thing you could do is send clear, professional information to get started, and those no's become yeses immediately. Olivia, great story. After 9, she, didn't get into the factory that she wanted, got a little bit educated, went back, and they were like, let's do this. Like you're ready to go now. That's the power of understanding how the industry works. And again, figure your stuff out and then worry about the supplier. Everyone is so worried about suppliers, you end up burning bridges before you even need to. All right, Peter. Peter from Zimbabwe, currently residing in Missouri, USA. I'm starting a golf apparel brand based in South Africa and Zimbabwe, and our market will be African country clubs. At the infancy of the brand, logo will be ready end of April. Name is Motherland Golf. Launch date May 2026. Okay, great. That's a year, more than enough time. On Africa Day, South Africa, and Zimbabwe. Given your wonderful experience in fashion, if you were launching a golf apparel brand from the US with the flexibility of moving in the near future, with 2 partners on the ground in Africa, where no African has pioneered such a brand, what key strategies would you focus on to establish industry leadership and ensure long-term success? The first thing I would ask is, why does this not exist? I know in the Indian market, there's like a premium sometimes for foreign brands. They want Lacoste. They don't necessarily want whatever Indian brand is coming out. So you being in the United States could actually be a benefit to your brand. I don't know. I don't know the African market or the South African market. I know India really well because I live here. I'm in India right now. And I know that a lot of times when people start these Indian brands to compete with foreign brands, people want that foreign logo. So the first thing I would wonder is like, why? Why doesn't this exist? Why isn't this happening? Then I would, when you figure out that information, then you can start devising a strategy. A lot of times, if there's a big open hole in a niche, not always, but a lot of times it's for a reason. And just because you find out like your initial idea, no one's doing this because of whatever hurdles and obstacles, that doesn't mean you should stop. It just means that you need to pivot it a little bit. This way it can be successful. And how you pivot that, I can't tell you that on this phone call because we haven't done the research yet. Peter, I know you signed up for Launch My Conscious Line. So that's the work that we're going to start doing in the very first week. We're going to look at why this doesn't exist in your market, and we're going to look at the challenges and the opportunities. And then we're going to figure out how you can do this so it is successful. So that will be, that's what I would do. And that's for anyone. If you think you have a totally original idea, why isn't it out there? Is it too expensive to actually produce? Is the market not big enough? I don't know. There are lots of reasons why. Maybe, maybe they're just behind. Like in India, they're just getting into pickleball. I mean, we've been doing this since the past 5 years in the States. So maybe the market is just behind. If that's the case, you have a fantastic opportunity. In India, I would pickleball or anything that was trending in like 2019, that's just popping up here. So, those types of things, they're just getting into the gluten-free food and the vegan and the this. It's just starting. Like we have a lot of friends with restaurants. So, maybe it's just a delay. That could be all it is, and you could be first, but you need to explore that and have concrete like data and evidence about what's going on. And that's how I would move that forward. Okay, Ian, I found a really good supplier, and in some ways, I feel fortunate that they are willing to take me on as a client. It's a factory in Portugal. My query relates to the fact that I am clearly their least important prospective client, and so they took 2 months to supply samples. That can be normal. That's not a ridiculously long time period to make samples. I then fed back my comments quickly within a week, but I've got now been waiting a further 2 months for the next round of samples, and still there is no sign of them. So, okay, usually when people send me emails like this and they end up hiring me, when I go through the communication, it is, I don't want to say 100% because that sounds really, but it is 100% the brand's fault of why things are going wrong. They're not communicating information clearly. They're not following up clearly. There is always a reason why when I look at it and I'm just like, this is why you're not getting what you want. So I would say the first thing is, you need to be communicating properly. And I'm sure that you're not because no one ever is. Um, the 2 months is an okay timeline. You not being their most important client is a negative. A lot of people, I'm starting a legging company. I want to be at the same factory as Lululemon. I'm starting a sweater company. I want to get the same yarns as Loro Piana. Okay, but you can't compete with them, so you'll always be last. That's just the reality of it. It's better to work with a factory who's a little less known, who doesn't have those big clients. And just because they have big clients doesn't mean that they're good factories. I work with factories that have, Revolve and all these things, and like it's still a mess working with them. It doesn't, again, it's you who's telling them what to do, not them telling you what to do. So when you understand that there is no safety in being in the same factory as a famous brand because you're the one responsible for the product at the end of the day, not the factory. And that opens you up, and it's quite liberating because it allows you to work with smaller suppliers who don't have those big names, but might be just as talented as making things and way more excited to work with you. So I think you are perhaps need a little bit of a mindset change when it comes to who you're working with. Should I start considering an alternative supplier? I wouldn't say to start looking at an alternative supplier just because, again, I'm pretty positive that you have something that's not quite right in your communication because everyone always has something that's not quite right. So I wouldn't just be like, oh, they're terrible. Let's move on. But I think you should always have a plan B and a plan C in your plan. During the pandemic, I had a bunch of stuff in China. China closed down. I moved it all to India, started sampling in India. India closed down, moved it back to China because China was reopening and all my clients got their stuff on time. That's why you have a plan B, C, and D because you're able to then, your first season, you can't do that. You're just treading water. You're struggling to get stuff done. You can't have a crazy supply chain. But as you start to grow and scale, you start to diversify your supply chain. When you're first starting out, though, I suggest you have, at least a conversation and have 3 people that you're interested in working with. This way, when something goes wrong, you have a place to go. So I would say start exploring other people, but I would continue to give this other factory a chance because my feeling is that they haven't really gotten a fair opportunity because you're just starting out, you don't really know what you're doing. And it's look at it from their perspective. It's hard for them because of that. Okay, Sarah. Already have a brand called Sarah Tremaine that makes small batch made to order and upcycled and tailor clothing featuring prints of my mother's artwork. I also offer mending and tailoring services, all dedicated to supporting healing services for survivors of sexual trauma. All right, this is a lot of things. I make everything myself, but I'm debating whether I need to pivot to production elsewhere. I prefer to keep it in the US, even though I know it's more expensive and small batch to stay sustainable. What is your total budget to start your brand? 15,000 right now to further the brand. Okay. What's the best strategy for growing so that the brand sustains itself but stays ethically positive? So ethics, sustainability, all of these they are subjective terms. They mean something different to everyone. So you need to decide what is sustainable to you, what is ethical to you. Then you can start making decisions. There is no, this is what ethics is. It's whatever you want it to be. There's no legal definition of it. The only thing that has a legal definition is organic. That has a legal definition that you must comply with. Everything else is what you want. So there are terrible working conditions in LA. You can Google it. These like LA garment worker slaves, essentially, who have their passports taken away from them and they're stuck in these factories. It's Google, it's on there. Um, does Made in America make you ethical? No. Does it make it easier to show up and see what's going on? Yes. So you have ethics is it's very brand determined. If I were you and I had this business, you have a lot of things going on. I would personally start with the small batch made to order upcycled clothing featuring the prints. And I would figure out a way to start mass producing those in America or overseas. The mending, the tailoring, you have to do yourself. One way to grow and scale that would be to start training people, maybe some of the people that you're donating money to reskill them and teach them tailoring and mending so they can work under you and then they can start their own tailoring and mending businesses, right? Now we're kind of getting full circle and we're going to the next level of what do ethics really mean? It's not necessarily always just throwing money at someone. Maybe it's giving them a job. So there are a few ways that you could do it. I would focus on one. I don't know you. I don't know what your strengths are, but I would start with whatever is the strongest part of your business or what you enjoy working on the most. Having a business, I'm sure, as you know, is very hard. It helps if you like it. So if there's a part of this business, it sounds like you've got about 3 different businesses going on. There's a part of the business that you like, I would make that part of the business the part that you're trying to scale. And then you scale that and get that going, and then you scale another part of the business. So that's how I personally would do it. Julie is our last question. From Australia, we grow cotton and I'm starting a boutique. Can't source nice ladies' clothes from Australian cotton. I'd love to design dresses and shirts in a linen look style and also some pattern dresses that are the style of postcard or tea towel look, but showcasing our native birds and local icons of Australia. Also a line of work clothes from Australian cotton with something iconic or something cool. In Australia, we have work shirts to raise money for mental health, and they are bright, iconic. I'm trying to develop something different. Not sure, but I need a very low MOQ. Again, this does nothing for me, a low MOQ. Like I mentioned, Walmart's low MOQ is 10,000 pieces. Most small brands will never order 10,000 pieces. You need to give numbers, you need to give data for people, not just me, anyone, factories, suppliers, whoever it is you're talking to be able to help you. Don't mind where it's made, maybe not China. So basically what I understand is because it's expensive to produce in China, you're looking for Australian cotton that's been exported to some other location that has cheaper labor that then you can then use the cheaper labor and send it back. When you get into this, people often find, and I've done these Australia projects before, I know more than the average person in this industry about Australian cotton. When you start shipping this stuff and then shipping it back with the duties and the this and the that, it's cheaper to just do the whole thing in Australia if the Australian cotton is what you want. So I had someone who did this with sheep. She had a sheep farm. She wanted to ship the cotton to somewhere in Asia, the wool somewhere in Asia, have it knit, have it this, ship it back. When all the numbers aligned, it was cheaper for her to make her supply chain in Australia, which is what she did. So that's where I would start. I would start pricing this out and seeing what makes the most sense. With 5 to 10K, you're not shipping things all over the world, probably, or it's probably going to make the most sense to do it in Australia or to do your idea of work shirts and the actual styles in another country with their cotton, have that Australia component to it with the designs, see how it does, grow, scale, and then start figuring out a secondary supply chain that aligns with it more. Which brings me to a great point. If you try to set up your brand doing everything, you will never launch. You will never, ever launch. Make your list of all the things you want and then choose one thing, whatever that one thing is. So you want Australian designs and Australian cotton, pick one that's the most important. There has to be, when I used to work in fast fashion, there'd be a list every day, a huge list. And I'd say, choose three things you'd want. And they'd always say, well, everything's important. And I'd say, well, then nothing's getting done. And they knew I wasn't kidding around. I'm not doing anything. I'd say, choose your three things, and those three things would get done. And that's what you have to do with your brand. You have to choose whatever's important. You make your decisions. And then the next season, you add number two. The next season, you add number three. If you try to do it all, you will never launch. I've had people working with me. It took them 3 years to launch, and not for lack of trying. They were at every office hours and everything, but they needed every single thing just the way they wanted it. And that's not possible. When you start your brand, you have to be able to make concessions and to make trade-offs. And the way you make those trade-offs is doing your niche, understanding your customer and saying, this is what's important to them, this they would like. I'm going to do what's important for them. And then the things that they would like, I add on later and later and later. And that's how you make decisions for your brand, your longevity, and how you get started. So I think based on what you said, what you're trying to do, I don't know if that's possible. You're probably going to end up making the whole thing in Australia, I think. Again, cost it out. Maybe things are different. Maybe things have changed since I've helped people with projects like this, specifically in Australia. But I would look into different ways of doing it. Okay, a few comments here. Just to clarify what's needed to approach a supplier, tech pack, spec sheets, fabric choice, budget, MOQs. No, none of that actually. You don't need a tech pack to approach a supplier. You don't need spec sheets. In fact, I'd encourage you not to have those made because of all the tech packs I've seen in my entire life, I think only like 2 of them have ever been completely accurate. You will hire someone, they will give you a very nice, lots of drawings, lots of lines, lots of numbers, lots of things. You have no way of verifying if it's correct or not. How do you know that this should be this measurement and this should be this measurement and this should be this measurement? You don't. You find that out when you bring it to the factory and the factory says, what is this? I've had people who have brought their tech packs to factories and the factory ripped them up because they were like, this isn't possible. So I would not invest a penny into a tech pack or a spec sheet before you start talking to people. And often your factories can help you with those things if you know how to work with them. Fabric choice, absolutely. That's something that's important. Your budgeting. You know what? Go back and watch the video. When you signed up for this, there was a free lesson, and I tell you what you need in that. And tech packs and spec sheets were definitely not on that list. Okay, Ryan, at what point should someone be before joining Launch My Conscious Line program? How frequently do you open the program up? So I'm not opening it again until the fall. I think it's the best if people get started as early as they are. It gives you the most opportunity to work cleanly and correctly. A lot of times people are like, oh, look, I've done everything. Now I'm ready for the suppliers. Let's go. And then when I start going into all their stuff, I'm like, well, there's like 5 huge holes here. We need to answer these questions and figure this out before we get into your supplier stuff. So the sooner you get started, the better, because you'll just save time and do everything once and do it all correctly. But you've got to do what's right for you. How can a sustainable streetwear brand build a brand identity that genuinely resonates and fosters a loyal community among your European customers apart from fabric? I don't, there are lots of streetwear brands. Stussy is very different than Supreme, right? Which is very different than like Rocawear, which is very different, right? Like all 3 of those have very different personalities. So streetwear, well, it's an umbrella category. It's not really a niche. Who is this person? What is their style? What influencers are they looking up to? Who are their style icons? What do they do, right? Supreme is a streetwear brand where like Rocawear was more of like a hip hop type brand. Totally different. Technically both street. That's what you need to do. And that's the niching down work that comes before the supplier, before everything. Who are these people? It's not every person who are streetwear. And then you have this streetwear trend, especially in the UK, where it's all like bright colors and like the wavy squiggles and the smiley faces and the daisies and all of that. Lucy and Yak, right? Lucy and Yak is technically streetwear. Very different than the other brands I just said. So that's how you figure it out. You choose what type of person are you going after, and then you start building backwards. How do you suggest to approach manufacturers with their specific design requirements out of the norm in smaller quantities? I am launching a lingerie brand for people with disabilities and it has specific requirements, cotton, fabric, magnetic closure, looking at factories in Tanzania. My prototype is DIY with basic flat design. I cannot answer that on this call. That is like a 2 to 3 hour one-on-one consultancy call. I can't do, I haven't seen the product. I don't know who the supplier is. I cannot. Um, how to suggest to approach. Okay, that was that question. Yeah, I can't answer that. Not knowing like a lot of things. And we would be here for the next 2 hours. So we're gonna have to skip that one. Okay, cool. So anyone who is here for the 50% off discount of Launch My Conscious line, raise your hand or DM me, and I'll add you to the list for the drawing. I am also going to pop this in the chat for anyone who doesn't win. Here is the code to purchase. And then if you use AMA 25, what's the code? 25,500? No, it is spring 25 AMA, and that will give you $500 off. All right, let's type out everyone's names that is entering. We have me, please add me. Okay, we have Ryan. We have Aditi. We have Elmira. We have Beth. And we have Haoua, Haoua. And Peter and Melissa. Okay. And Beth and okay, that's everyone. If I didn't say your name, tell me right now before we choose. I'm gonna just mix up the order of everyone. Okay, someone who didn't enter, give me a number between 10 and 20. Oh, hold on. We have Amy and we have Dervona. Hold on. Okay, that's everyone who's got 16. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. The winner is Elmira. So if you can please email me, you can email me here, hello@shopvirtueandvice.com. So I have your email and I can set you up with the code. Everyone in the meeting. Perfect. And for everyone else, again, if you want to join, we have 500 off. That's the most off you're going to be able to get. Here is the, oops, I didn't send it to everyone. Here is this, and it's spring 25 AMA for 500 off. Okay, does anyone have any last minute questions before we go? Ryan says, thank you. Jenny says, thank you so much. No last questions before we leave. Learned so much and appreciate your time. Again, there's a video lesson. It's like an hour long. It's super helpful. It will tell you like a head start of where to find suppliers, what you need to talk to them, all this type of stuff. It's not like a sales pitch. I know a lot of times people are like, I'm gonna give you like 3 hours of who I am, why you should work with me, and like my offer. It's literally just like information. So I suggest all of you watch that. Where's the video? It's in the emails. So in the emails, you should have gotten like, here's a free lesson to watch. You should do this before you join the free call in those emails, all the free call emails. Read them, and you'll see like the link. Also watch the video. Okay, so Beth watched it this morning. So good. About to rewatch after this. So just go through the emails and look at the links. I know, like especially with AI and inboxes, like it feels like it's overwhelming how many emails we get, but it really is a good lesson. And it's just information. It's not, I know like a lot of times you sign up for these free things and it's like just me talking about me. It's not, it's info. All right, fabric makers. I don't share that. And by the way, the ones that I do share publicly, like they're not my top suppliers. The ones I share publicly are like my D level, my C level. My really good stuff I keep private. Mostly because they've asked me to, like all these people I interviewed for the podcast, like they have asked me not to bring them people until those people are ready to go. So those I keep private. When does the course start? It starts in 2 weeks. So the first lesson drops on the 16th, and we have a lesson every week that you can watch for whenever you want. You have access to that forever for the whole life of the program. So you can go back to it and watch it again and again, which becomes helpful when you launch because it's a lot of sales information as well that you might not be ready to fully digest right now when you're in product development mode. And then every week we have a live call similar to this, except I unmute it and we have like a discussion and you can ask me all of your questions. The call goes anywhere from like an hour to 3 hours, I think was our longest call. I don't leave until everyone gets help. That's my policy. There are no stupid questions. I am there to answer everything. I'll answer it 20 times if you need me to. And then we have a group chat where you can ask me questions. Like today, I just had someone who was placing a bulk order and they're like, can you quickly look at my PO to make sure everything is correct? And I just looked at it because sometimes when you're moving, you don't want to wait a week to get an answer on a live call. You just need an answer now so you can keep going. So that's, part of the thing too. You get 24/7 support from me. Aditi, till when are you accepting clients for the program? Asking because I have something to close before I can go all in. So the 15th is the last day to enroll. And then we get started and we get started all together. But just email me and let me know what is going on and let's see what we can do. Also, is this the same program where you help to get samples according to our brief? No, I do not do anything for you. I tell you how to do it and I give you supplier contacts and then you do it yourself. And then you ask me questions so I can help guide you doing it correctly. If you want me to do everything for you, I charge $2,400 per style. That includes everything. It doesn't include your specs, that's a separate charge, but it includes pattern, it includes grading, it includes revisions, it includes 2 samples, a first sample and a revised sample, textile sourcing, the whole shebang. There's a minimum of 5 styles to start, which is a $14,000 commitment, but you get everything and you're ready to move in production by the end of it. That is something different than this. The program, which is only, use the discount, it's 3,250. That is you learning how to do it all yourself and me guiding you every step of the way. Here's what I would do if I was in the situation. Here's what you need before you reach out to them. All that type of stuff is what we're doing. So you're DIYing it, which in many ways is much more valuable. When people hire me, I mean, I love my private clients, but they're stuck with me forever or they're stuck finding someone else. They don't understand how the process works. When you take the program and understand how the process works, it gives you freedom and it gives you like autonomy in your business. You are controlling it. You know what's right. You know what's wrong. You're not relying on someone else, which is important, I think, for the longevity. Even if you hire down the road, you've got a whole production development team and product development team and a production team and this team. You should still know what's involved in doing their job so you can manage those people correctly. If you manage people that you don't understand how their job works, you end up overpaying and getting lower quality. So it's good to have some sort of understanding for everything in your company. All right. Looks like that is everything. I'm going to send out an email of this recording and some other information. There'll be like some other freebies that I have in the next week or two that definitely like any video links, watch them. I promise you, it's not me being like, buy this program. It's like actually valuable information that will help you. So for sure, watch any free information that I put out because it will only benefit you. All right. It was great meeting all of you. I think some of you I will be seeing in the program. Others, if not, keep going, keep learning. There's lots of free information out there in the world. Be careful with who you trust, though. Make sure that, the people that you get information from are people who are in the industry. They own factories or they've lived and worked in factories the way I have. Do not get information from influencers. There are a lot of influencers out there that this is how you buy quality and this is how you do whatever. They are just as qualified as you. They just have insane egos and a lot more confidence. So don't get information from those kind of people. Make sure you're getting your information from people who work in the industry and like you'll get there. It will take longer because you've got to pick all the little bits of information out from the big internet and figure out what's what, but you can learn and you will get there. So keep learning, keep trying, keep working, do a little bit every day. And yeah, that's it. I will hopefully see a lot of you soon. And thank you very much for your questions. I enjoy this. That's why I do it. I have a consultancy business, as I mentioned. I work with some really big brands, but I really do enjoy working with smaller brands and helping people get started because I believe anyone can start a fashion brand. You just need a little bit of help not getting screwed over by this industry. And I think that not having all the tools shouldn't be a reason not to get started and do this. So, and it's also really fun for me. Like I truly enjoy the first few weeks of class, hearing everyone's ideas, seeing their logos evolve, watching them do their product, getting first samples. Someone just got their first samples this week and I'm like so excited. So I enjoy this part of what I do. And that's why I do it. It's not really my full business, but it's something that I like, which is important. You should like what you do. Anyway, I thank you all again, and I will see you soon. Bye, everyone.